Right now, we're going to be talking about snap tapping. What is it, and why is it the new hot thing in mouse and keyboard gaming? Nick, off the top, going to bring us into a slide here, but tell me what you know about snap tapping. What is it?
Working as intended.
That is the most
working as intended. Yeah, it's the most working as intended feature I've ever fucking seen.
And that might be a great way of putting it, because it essentially is keyboards finally working as you would intend it to work.
Exactly. What does a keyboard do? It activates the button you press, right? And before snap tapping, right, you had to wait for the button to let you go on your second letter. Like, it's dumb.
Yeah,
like, well, working as intended.
In a bit of a more extensive breakdown for it, right? Snap tapping is you press the keyboard, you press the button, and there's a delay on the input. There's a delay time from the time it takes for you to press the button all the way down on the keyboard. And then there's a delay time for when it releases. Technically, it's physical delay, and like players would adjust to that. Snap tapping advances an idea that was built on by the Wooting keyboards, where you'd have down press as soon as it past a threshold. It means that instead of waiting until it gets all the way to the keyboard, all the way to the bottom, and that's when it activates, there's a threshold maybe halfway or 75% where it starts to activate. Snap tapping will do that, but then it adds an immediate release so that you can immediately press another button. So all those, what is it, AD spams where you're jiggle peeking, you can literally hold the A button and tap the D button. You gotta tap that D and bring it back and forth. And just briefly, I want to show you over here a video by Optimum. Maybe you've seen this, but this is one of the best representations of how it looks. I'm going to bring this into a better screen. There we go.
It's wacky, bro. It's going to ruin your brain. And you're going to, like, if you're not used to this, you're going to be screaming, this kid cheats. X.
But in that same way, this was a skill to learn that had a higher ceiling, a higher skill floor to get to, and a higher ceiling as you got better to it for players to do it. And some days you were on and some days you're off. What snap tapping does is it makes it instant. It makes it super easy, and it looks like this.
Yeah, so like the easiest way that I fundamentally started thinking about it is that your last key that you press is the only one that matters. Right, the last one. So like the new one just takes over. Like that's it. Like new one just takes over. That's the last key you pressed was D. D's doing it now, not A anymore. And you're pressing A still. Like it just doesn't. No, D happened because you pressed D. It's the new one that happened. It just it fundamentally makes sense compared. And I will tell you, this is how Hitbox operates. Like this is Hitbox.
Fighting game controller,
I'm telling you right now, like you hold back and you just and you get the spam of hit a button and do different combos. Like this is how Hitbox works.
Right. There's no lag. There's no misinputs. It's just straight working as intended as far as what you would naturally feel. But we've had 30 years of mouse and keyboards not working like this. So it's a bit of a shock to the system, especially when you see it. And like it is a competitive advantage, but it's a competitive advantage because of it makes the toolbox easier. It's a tool that makes the action easier. Players would normally do this in a match regardless. And here we have just, Optimum talking about it specifically, how you're able to jiggle peek and, and where it's really coming for. So before we go into a bit more of his video, let's tell you what it looks like from Razer itself and how you can get it yourself if you want it, or be more informed about what's going on if you see that wacky sliding happening here. So how snap tap mode works: on and off. Overlay inputs, just like we said, you press the key, the signal is sent. The second that you press the next key, the signal is also sent, even if you haven't released the first one. So you press left, you go left, you press right, you go right. And like you have A and D on, you don't move. And this is how it normally works. But when you turn it on, it's immediately overwritten by the new one. Right? You press A, you go left. You press D, you go right. But if you have A and D, it's the last input that you enter that will activate on that. Simple as that. And the benefits is pretty clear. You move better. You can get that little jiggle peak on the edge for those tactical shooters. You can have better dodging and mobility movement for something like Overwatch or Fortnite. And, you know, Razer's going to sit here and like basically sell you on how the pros love it. They're going to use it. But specifically, it is made for everybody. And this was a skill that pros predominantly had to learn originally, but now it's just easier. They basically have a new tool that made their life easier. And you can get this as well on the Huntsman keyboard.
Yeah, you just got to pay for it, huh?
Razer.
Instead of like activating some code real quick that you can just activate instead of buying Razer's product.
I do know that there's a way for you to...
So this is something you would have got banned for in CSGO and Counter-Strike in general. This is something that people were legitimately there's a code to do this. Like to make your keyboard act like this, there is just a script that you can run to have your keyboard act like this, and it was banned.
Well, that's
like
what I was going to say.
Offense, like in general.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is like you're talking about it being banned with Counter-Strike previously. You don't need a Huntsman keyboard or Razer product to get this, but when you do it through those third-party means, it does then bring in this accusation of hacking or somewhat botting, because you're like creating a script, a key tapping script that activates on the side, and like that extra program is where it gets illegal. And like I still feel like that applies here, and I think Wooting even argues currently that it applies here for Razer, but Razer's selling it as buy the keyboard and our natural software / firmware already has it included for this keyboard. You know, it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
So like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, this is one of those situations where I know that there's a couple people that like I've always wanted my keyboards to work this way, and I found it frustrating when they didn't, because we come from like before. Well, not we, but like before I played on keyboard and mouse, I was playing on console. So like. That like, I don't know. I feel like this is like a normal console feature of like wiggling with your thumbstick. You know what I mean? Like they're like, cause it's on a ball and it has to be pretty like dynamic in order for you to actually get some nice movement out of like a controller like that. So I feel like this is just like, this is where everybody's brain subconsciously is maybe. Even like even like a controller, there's input lag, and like that's essentially what they're trying to eliminate here, and they're doing it in such an extreme way that is finally, like you said, working as intended. This is probably what was intended by a controller, not literally a controller, but like a keyboard controller, a mouse controller, a controller 30-40 years ago when they invented it. Like they probably wanted the NES controller to have zero input lag, and that's kind of what this does. It puts the threshold at literally the top. You can set it where you want, and then the second you press a second button and activate that, it activates. It doesn't wait till the first one's done. So like it is working as intended, but it's 30 years of like not working as intended, or adjustments or adaptation that's gotten us here for it. So it's hard to like parse like how much of it is a competitive advantage and how much is it cheating. So like, here's the weird thing, right? Like the, oh my God, what company was that? As soon as Razer announced this and, you know, put it out there, right? They made like another very reputable mechanical keyboard company basically said like, they put out a poll on Twitter. I think I said it last week and I knew their name right off the top of my head. They put out a poll on Twitter. Hey guys, do you want us to do this for our keyboards too? Overwhelmingly positive. Yes. Right. And they said, cool. Our most recent keyboard has this feature now. Yes. Every keyboard we made has this feature now. So it's not something that, like, it sounds like something that we've actually, like, companies have just like limited. You know what I mean? Like DLC that's been on the disc the whole time, you know, like this kind of nonsense. Like that's kind of what it feels like to me, that if you can go back and be like, yeah, all right, all our stuff now has it.
Maybe it's just a Razer. Like we're doing it this way because it's the way we've done it forever. So no one's ever thought about turning that. And then Wooting started, I keep saying that weird. Wooting started adjusting it and giving for that competitiveness, and then Razor's just like, let's take it and let's throw it down the hallway and just go a mile with it. And that's where, you know, we're seeing that. But then, like you're saying, they're also kind of paywalling it themselves. And like, it's just a Huntsman that offers it for them, whereas other companies can potentially offer it across their entire inventory.
Yeah. You know, it'll be exactly what keyboards are supposed to be like in the future. And it looks like a little wacky, and you know, maybe this just ends up being that the developers need to take more care in the way the movement works in their game, just in general, instead of just like slippy, slidey characters and stuff. Maybe characters need to have, you know, some sort of traction value or something like that, where they have to ramp up or have to slow down. Like, this is going to be where, you know, cool, you can do it, but now, you know, Overwatch patch. So guess what? Like, we already fixed it. Now it doesn't matter if you have snap tapping. Games can decide that.
That's tricky though, because we end up in a Smash 4, where you have tripping on the game because Diddy Kong's too broken, where developers start taking like these weird, like, ultimate resolutions to like solve the problem, but it doesn't solve it. It just creates a different moment and whatnot. So like, I get skeptical about that point, because then you might have like bad developer decisions happening in the competitiveness of the game, and like where some might be good, where Street Fighter includes the hitbox rather than exclude it. They make it generally the option, the code available to everybody, regardless of what you use. Others might not. It might not do it and implement in a way that's keeping competitive integrity. So like, this is a big shakeup. This is a big deal, and like, it's gonna be interesting to watch. Isn't it?
Like, it's out the box already. Like, this is like Pandora's box. Like, it's not going away. Like, if you try to ban this, like, again, like, this, never take anything away from your players. You only add to it. Like, you never take away. If they're doing something already and people find it to be cool, and other people are saying, I don't like this, but people already find it to be cool, guess what? People who you don't like it, get fucked. Like, sorry, but it's here to stay. It's never going away.
I think a softer way of saying it is like, the genie's already out of the bottle, and like, when you see movement like that by the characters and like when you're playing against it, it's going to be frustrating. And then the only solution is to then buy it yourself. It feels bad in that way. So like, yeah, the genie's out of the bottle, and like, it might really be up to developers to be able to police this by doing certain things. And maybe it's just going to take a little bit for them to figure out what's good and what's not, as far as what's applicable to like working and what feels good, because
100%. You know, but it not going away and being a mainstay feature, the only thing that people have to worry about is the price break that people are going to add it in. Like, are we going to, like, we should be seeing this on $80 mechanical keyboards, $60 mechanical keyboards. It's not an expensive feature to add, just in general. Like, it should be the base. Yeah, it should be the base. And the only thing that shouldn't have it is probably like, bro, don't game on a Logitech G923. Like, that's not the keyboard for you. If you're like, even if you're playing Fortnite, like, we all get it.
I use my 60% Dell Gateway keyboard. What are you talking about?
And I have a roller track mouse, and I don't like, you know, I don't have a laser mouse anymore. Like, you know, it's just, that's the part to be like worried about, is if like people are going to be priced out of playing competitive games because these I don't want to say developers, these companies that are producing these peripherals don't feel that, you know, your $60 is worthy enough for them to put this like this minuscule thing. Like, it's so minuscule, which is why it took a Twitter post, like it was a Twitter survey, to be like, all right, guys, we gave it to you. That's how easy it is. Like, so it, like, if Razor's like, you know, oh, it's only on our Death Rattler V72, that's $150. Like, no, like,
Yeah, that's the part that's like
I don't
really
need to go
dishonest.
on, I don't need to go in on Razor anymore. I could do this all day.
No, they are making it easy, because that is the dishonest part about this situation, and that's the dishonest thing about their product, where it could be easily, and it could just be a middle manager making that decision because it's going to affect the profit line, the profit margin at the end of the day. And like, they are a business, and so businesses are in the business of making money, but then at what point is it like fair, unfair? And that's where we're talking about the competitive advantage and whatnot. It will be something we'll see as going on. If you have experience with the what is it, snap tapping on Razer specifically, or a different keyboard, or you've played against it, let us know. Hit us up on our social media. Hit us up here in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say. The everyday gamer, everyday competitive gamer, because that's exactly what we are. So we want to hear from you guys. Let us know. All right. But in the meantime, we're going to move into our